Alright, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. I'm your host, Chris Crenshaw, and we are live from the 336 once again for episode 161 of the 815 Exchange. Now, this week's episode, college football is back. Okay, college football is back. Also, let me get this out of the way because the audio might sound somewhat cooked. We are trying out the Rogo 2. So we have that on the camera today. So y'all can let me know how it sounds. So if the audio sounds a little bit different or it's cooked this week, that is why. Apologies. But yeah, we're going to see how it does. If you like it, let me know. And, maybe we'll keep it going. So the mic, the Shure is just it's a prop this week. So if I'm still going to it and grabbing it, then, it's just here because it's naturally and it's on an arm. But, yeah, it's just a prop today. So we got a different audio this week. But otherwise, no new changes. The new era of 815 Exchange is still going on. And like I said, college football is back this week. But we also have The Martian, not the movie. Footy is back. Well, footy has been back. But footy, we're really starting to get into it. Champions League draw was also this week. And a bunch of stuff. I mean, a massive roundup. So, yeah, plenty to talk about this week in the world of sports and entertainment. As always, timestamps are provided, embedded in the video and in the description below, along with all of my social medias. And as always, remember to like, share, and subscribe if you guys are enjoying the content. But without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, I am not going to waste your time. I'm not. We're getting straight to what you came here for. It is not the main event. It is the headline, and that is college football. CFB. And we're not even gonna we're not gonna do the homer. By the way, congratulations to my former school. We finally won a football game. I am happy. Also a little bit sad that I was not there for that, and that y'all waited till I left to finally win another football game. But nonetheless, happy for the 49ers, but we're not here to talk about that, all right? Y'all know what the headline thing in all the sports this past weekend was, and it was Coach Prime. The Colorado Buffaloes stormed into TCU, the reigning defending Big 12 champions, the reigning defending. Forget which bowl it was. They won the college football semifinal. Of course, they played in the national championship last year. Lost a lot of talent, but boy, oh boy, oh boy, Colorado was still a 20-point underdog. People have spent the entire offseason saying how Colorado is going to be a disaster. They couldn't wait. They were praying for this game at noon on Saturday. They were waiting. They were waiting for the downfall of Coach Prime in this Colorado team. Sheduer couldn't do it after being at a HBCU. Travis Hunter was overrated. All of this stuff, all right? We heard all of it. The gimmick won't work. It's a gimmick. When they play actual comp, it won't work. Well, ladies and gentlemen, it worked. Oh, boy, did it work. Colorado comes into TCU and takes them down 45-42 in an incredible game. An early, literally week 2, basically week 1 of college football, game of the year contender. It was that good. Now, I don't know if y'all forgot, but Sheduer Sanders was one of the best quarterbacks coming out of high school, 3-4 years ago? So I don't really know why there was so much of a surprise about, can Sheduer hang? Can he get it done at the highest level? Of course he can. Of course he can. Just because he played at Jackson State for, the past, 2 years? Come on, let's be serious. Anyway, Sheduer did what Sheduer does. Breaks the Colorado passing yardage record in game 1. He goes 38 for 47, 5, 10, and 4 touchdowns. Just an absurd stat line. An absolutely absurd stat line. He said in the post-game interview it was the most yards he's ever thrown for, and he was at a HBCU for the past 3 years. Come on, bro. Some reason y'all thought it wouldn't translate. Dylan Edwards was a big reason why. I'm going to get to Trav, don't worry, but I got to give Dylan Edwards some shine. The freshman, former Notre Dame commit, as you've probably heard 15 million times, if anybody's talked about him this past weekend. He goes 159 yards total. He had 5 receptions, 135 of that. 3 of those touchdowns through the air, 1 on the ground. So, yeah, 159 and 4 touchdowns for Dylan Edwards. I mean, I think they did a phenomenal job. All right, Prime and I think Sean Lewis, who's the OC, did a phenomenal job utilizing Dylan Edwards. It wasn't, we're sending him out the middle. This is a short, super agile, super fast running back. We are putting him into space and putting him into situations where he is going to thrive. And they did a great job of utilizing him, and he went off. He went off. Game 1 of his career, he goes off. But of course, the man that stole the show and had everybody's imagination was one Travis Hunter. Now, this shouldn't have been a question. He was the number 1 overall recruit in the country 2 years ago. So it really shouldn't be any surprise that Travis Hunter was the goods. Really shouldn't. Really shouldn't. But boy, even I was still amazed by what Trav did in this game. He played nearly every snap, over 100 snaps in this game. In heat, in Texas heat. Played nearly every snap on both sides of the ball at an elite level. And he still could have done more. He finishes with 11 receptions, 119 yards receiving, a pass deflection, and a pick. I mean, just an absurd, a Shohei Ohtani-esque game from Travis Hunter. I mean, puts himself in the Heisman conversation week 1. His odds were pretty good going into that game and during the game. So if you took those out, that might have been a bad idea. If he continues to play the way he did in this game versus TCU, he could have had 3 picks in this game. He could have had 2 touchdowns. He dropped, some balls, dropped some picks that, you want him to make. But it's game 1. I can forgive it when he was playing this good. All right, it was absurd. He was a lockdown corner on one side, and he was a number 1 receiver on the other side. It was obscene. It was obscene. I have never in my life, of all of the years I've watched football on the college level, you see this at high school, right? People playing on both sides. He did it in high school, right? But to do it at the highest level of college football is just a whole different thing. It's a whole different thing. We haven't seen that, in our lifetime. A player do what Travis Hunter did on Saturday. So yeah, I'm very excited to see how he goes, even though they're in the Pac-12. More on that a little bit later. But yes, Travis goes crazy. By the way, Colorado did the 4x1, the illustrious 4x1, 4 receivers with over 100 yards. Xavier Weaver had 6 receptions, 118. Jimmy Horn Jr. was a playmaker all day, 11 receptions, 117, a touchdown. He was a model of consistency for Sheduer Sanders all game long. I do have to give a shout out. There were a lot of Sanders between Shiloh, Sheduer, and we had Trey Sanders for TCU. He had a hat trick of touchdowns. Whole lot of Sanders. Of course, Trey, no relation to the Sanders family, but yeah, Trey, he had a hat trick. Good to see him back and healthy. A long way away from, number 1 running back coming out to Alabama. I'm going to win the Heisman my freshman year. Didn't really work out like that, but still good to see him on his feet. Chandler Morris got outplayed. Simply put, he got outplayed. He was not that guy. He is not Max Duggan. Not that Max was finished second in the Heisman. I'm not gonna sit here and disrespect Mad Max like that. I'm not gonna do it. All right, we're not gonna do that. But Chandler Morris was not that guy, especially in comparison to Sheduer Sanders. All right, if you don't believe in this Colorado team now, I do not know what to tell you. Of course, it's week 1, so let's temper that expectation. But still, Colorado is the truth. You better believe it. They got Nebraska next week. We will be tuned in. Of course, we'll be talking about that on episode 162. But yes, Colorado cooking. You know who else was cooking? Utah. And they didn't even have Cam Rising. The bad man. As a USC fan, the bad man. Cam Rising, the man that has our number. They didn't have him. It didn't matter. All right, on Thursday, they took on Florida. Florida came into Utah talking about little-ass stadium. And boy, did that backfire, because Florida looked like a little-ass team. Woo. Woo. No Cam Rising, no problem, all right? It was that defense for Utah. We hear all of this stuff. SEC, I'm going to let y'all have it this week, because we hear all of this stuff all offseason long, especially with conference realignment. By the way, I'm going to spare you another rant, okay? Even though the ACC went and got California, Stanford, and SMU this week to add to the conference, which, once again, this is the Atlantic Coast Conference. I guess not anymore. Maybe it's just the all-coast conference instead. But I'm not going to rant. We're going to save you. Y'all know how I feel about super conferences. But we are going to talk about the SEC, and the SEC being frauds. Looking very fraudulent here in week 1. For supposedly the dominant conference, the apex, as they love to call themselves, of college football, which somewhat is deserved. They don't got the same dogs this year, but we'll talk about that. We'll talk about that. Anyways, let's talk about Utah. Utah's defense was great. Cole Bishop had 11 tackles and a sack. Jonah Elias had 2 sacks as well. Ben Barnes came in and held it down for Utah. Florida had 13 yards rushing. That should tell you how this game. If you have 13 yards rushing, even in modern football, you are not winning. It is not happening. So Utah gets the win 24-11, make quick work of Florida. SEC not looking good in Florida. Boy, oh boy, Graham Mertz did not look like the guy. Utah looks dangerous as ever. Another team that's, you know what, I'm not going to put them on fraud watch, but Ohio State did look very, very mid. I mean, the defense was great, but that offense, wow. Of all of the top 3 teams, right, coming back, we got Georgia, we got OSU, and of course we got Alabama, right, which I think is the top 3 in the AP poll as well. I thought of all of those teams, Ohio State was probably going to be in the best position, at least maybe like tied with Georgia. I thought Alabama was going to be in the worst. I thought Georgia maybe second, but Ohio State, surely it's going to be fine. You still have the best receiving corps in America. With the best receiver in America. You also have Trevion Henderson and Mayan Williams and Stalker. And you have all of this talent. I mean, Ohio State is loaded. Loaded. It's comical. Absolutely loaded. You would think, all right, 5-star quarterback, he wins the job, even though they kind of drew a tie with Devin Brown. When McCord wins the job, former 5-star quarterback, he went to high school with MHJ. This is easy breezy, beautiful cover girl. Ohio State's got it. The Buckeyes are fine. Yeah, no, it didn't work out like that. No, not at all. McCord, oh my goodness. I mean, he even had a Trent Richardson moment. I haven't seen vision that bad from a runner since Trent Richardson. It was amazing. It was like he was trying to miss the hole on purpose. It was actually harder for him to miss that hole on that goal line play than it was for him to make the decision that he made. I mean, it was incredible. I was incredulous. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. I could not believe it. But McCord just was not that guy. He goes 20 for 33, 239 and a pick. Trevion Henderson, I don't know what happened from the freshman that we were like, yo, this is going to be one of the best running backs in the country to, yo, Mayan Williams really should be the every down back for Ohio State. Credit where credit's due. Indiana's defense played great. But still, Trevion Henderson, I know he dealt with some he has not become who we thought Trevion Henderson was going to be here in his junior year. He is not that guy. Marvin Harrison Jr., some people said, might be the best player in college football. He had 2 receptions, 18 yards, and it wasn't even really Marv's fault. It's just McCord could not get the ball to him. Emeka also didn't have a crazy game. I mean, it was shocking. A shocking performance from the Ohio State offense. This was a very classic Big Ten, completely disgusting, ugly game. And yeah, defenses rose. Ohio State's defense shut them down. Also, Indiana's offense was very Iowa-ish. Okay, if you know what I mean. Very, very Iowa-ish. Even though Iowa's offense scored more than 20 points this week, so congratulations. But still, it was, yeah, not great. But Buckeyes win, so 1-0, you'll take it. Maybe McCord gets better as the season goes on. You would have to hope. Let's talk about the rivals, okay? Michigan took care of business. No Harbaugh, of course, for the first 4 weeks of the season. J.J. McCarthy walked into the stadium with a free Harbaugh shirt, and then he looked like he might have made the jump, which is not good for LSU. It's not good. Michigan might be the best team in the country if J.J. McCarthy has taken the leap. If he has become an elite quarterback, oh boy. They already had Corum and Donovan Edwards back. They got talent on the defensive side of the ball. They got talent on the offensive side of the ball. They can coach. They are dangerous. I mean, they were dangerous last year, but if McCarthy has gotten that much better, and again, it's ECU, so it's week 2. All right, we ain't playing nobody. We'll talk about that later as well. But if McCarthy is 26 for 32, 83 touchdowns good, then boy, oh boy, Michigan is dangerous. They are dangerous. Roman Wilson as well, 6 receptions, 78 yards, and a hat trick for him. But yeah, Michigan took care of business. They took care of ECU. McCarthy looked good. They are very dangerous if he is taking the leap. Penn State takes out West Virginia 38-15 in the nightcap. Drew Allar. Listen, Sean Clifford is a legend. All right, he's a legend for Penn State. He's got some records. He was a very, very good. I'm not gonna come great. He was a very, very good quarterback for them. Okay, Drew Allar is Drew Allar for a reason. Okay, and he's better. Okay, he is better, which also makes Penn State very, very dangerous potentially. Okay, if they have a quarterback, and I don't mean just like a good college quarterback. Drew Allar looks like he could be a top pick in 2 years. If he is this. What we saw versus West Virginia, oh boy. 21 for 29, 325, and 3 touchdowns. This was not a good week to be an Ohio State fan. I am not going to lie to you. Besides college football being back, in your defense, seeing the 2 opposing quarterbacks to your 2 biggest threats in your conference look this good was not great. Could not have been great, but it had to be great for Penn State. Allar looked like the truth. Keandre Lambert-Smith led them in receiving 4 receptions, 123 and 2 touchdowns. He was that guy. Penn State takes care of West Virginia 38-15. Allar might be the man. We had the Battle of the Carolinas in the Queen City, in my city. But Carolina took care of business 31-17, okay? Drake May, we've talked, okay, we'll get to that later as well. All right, we got a lot to talk about in college football, okay? A lot. And I'm going to talk about a lot of it later. But Drake May, of all the elite quarterbacks this week, on paper didn't have the greatest week, okay? He did still make some flash plays where it was like, yeah, Drake is that guy, but he also threw 2 picks in this game, okay? So, got to be fair here. He did go 269, 2 touchdowns, and 2 picks, which compared to other players and other quarterbacks this week was a little shaky, but he's still Drake May. Don't get it confused. He was still very influential in this win for Carolina. British Brooks had 103 yards, but Hampton was the one with 2 touchdowns for Carolina. Kobe Paysour, I mean, with no Tez Watkins, that was a big, big blow. I still don't know how I feel about that NCAA not giving. I mean, they feel like they give everybody eligibility, so for him to get denied, I don't know if I agree with it, even if it's Carolina. Of course, prayers after the recent shooting at Carolina. Prayers to the family of the past professor and just kind of situation, and giving my regards there. But Kobe Paysour, he looked like the #1 receiver. He looked good enough to do it. So, yeah, imagine if they get Tez Watkins back. Defensively, though, is where they stole the show. Spence was running for his life. He was running for his life. Simply put, Spencer Rattler was running for his life in this game. I mean, terrified, petrified. It felt like there was somebody as soon as he hiked the ball, there was somebody in the backfield. And it was not a South Carolina running back. It was a UNC defender. It was absurd. Cedric Gray, 9 tackles, 1.5 sacks. Rucker, 8 tackles, 2 sacks, 5.5 tackles for a loss. They had 9 team sacks. Now, Carolina's done a great job, especially in the state of North Carolina, getting all of the defensive line talent. Mac Brown has done a great job. By the way, this is a 100th win at UNC, so shout out to Mac. I saw that little dance. He's done a great job. I was wondering when it was going to pay off, and it paid off in this game. It paid off in this game. UNC's D-line and front 7 looked elite. Elite. They were the reason why they won this game the way they did versus South Carolina. Normally it's Drake. He takes the headlines. He's the superstar. But they looked like they had a superstar defense in this game. They win the Battle of the Carolinas in the Queen City. I'm not going to say go Hills. That's just too uncomfortable. You know, it's too uncomfortable. All right, now it's time to talk about what happened yesterday. Last night. Florida State, by the way, has faced Brian Kelly, I think, 4 straight years. 4 straight years. And I saw there was this great Bowden quote, right? About, playing a team over time. First you lose big, which 4 years ago, FSU got crushed by Notre Dame. Then you lose close. 3 years ago, they lost very close to Notre Dame. Last year, they won close, which was the next step. And then you win big. And as this is the 4th year, it was time for Florida State to win big. And this was a big matchup between Florida State and LSU. Top 10 matchup, the only top 10 matchup of the week. Both had returning star quarterbacks in Jaden Daniels and Jordan Travis. Both had a lot of hype. Both had a lot of perceived talent. Some think Florida State might be the best in the ACC. Again, taking the reins from Clemson. Big expectations. LSU, of course, got to prove themselves. Of course, they're the SEC. They're the lauded SEC. It's LSU. It's supposed to be them. I said earlier when I was talking about Utah and Florida that this was not the week and that the SEC don't have them same dogs. You know why they don't have them same dogs? Because all those dogs are in different conferences playing for much better teams than the ones that are in the SEC. Because, boy, it was a statement win from Mike Norvell and co. against Brian Kelly's LSU team because it wasn't close. This got out of hand. I mean, in the second half, it got rough. It got real rough for LSU. Florida State gets the win 45-24. Jordan Travis goes for 380 yards and not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, but 5 touchdowns against top 10 LSU. Go Tigers. Not really. Travis goes ballistic. Keon Coleman had 9 receptions, 122, and 3 touchdowns, looking all the parts of a number 1 receiver. Looks like that decision to leave Michigan State was the correct one. Johnny Wilson had 7 receptions, 104, and this is where both of them having some drops and, tried to get the chemistry right with Travis early on. They had monster games on paper, and Coleman straight up had a monster game. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Piper, in person, eye test, whatever you want to call it. He was that guy. And it could have been better. It could have been worse. Because for all we say about LSU being DBU, there was no DBs on the field that could stop either one of them, and they still didn't play their best game. Harold Perkins, who a lot of people were ready to crown the Bernard winner before the season. Listen, he's not playing in his best role, which is as an edge rusher. They're trying to play him inside, help him develop him there. Boy, he's going to need some development. I'm not ruling Harold out because he's that talented, but he was a non-factor. Florida State took him out of the game, made him a non-factor, and once they did that, LSU had nothing. They had nothing. They got busted in the mouth over and over and over and did nothing. They couldn't stop them. And then they fell apart. Jared Verse and that defense and that pass rush were all over Jaden Daniels in that second half. They end up with 4 sacks, JD. There was consistent pressure. It felt like more. It felt similar to the way that Carolina's defensive line in front 7 was on Spencer Rattler. That's how Florida State was getting after Jaden Daniels yesterday. Exactly the same. Constant pressure. He never could get comfortable, never could, get the time to make a good decision with the ball. So, yeah, complete and utter. The score makes this look, honestly, 45-24 makes this look closer than it felt. It felt like 45 to maybe 10. I beat the brakes off LSU. A statement. JD finishes with 411. Brian Thomas had 7 receptions, 142 and a touchdown. But Florida State's offensive line completely, like I said, shut down that offense, gave Jordan Travis all the time in the world. By the way, FSU has the most experienced offensive line in college football and one of the best, if you didn't know, which is a far cry from a couple years ago, pre-Norvell, where they had the worst offensive line in college football, arguably. So, yeah. Quite the turnaround, and yeah, Florida State looks real. All right, they look real. Believe the hype. They got it on the defensive side of the ball. They got offensive firepower and a superstar quarterback. LSU, on the other hand, just a smidge overrated. SEC, it's not looking pretty. It's not looking pretty for you. Now, of course, I'm a biased boy. So we're going to talk about USC, okay? We're going to talk about USC. We won 66-14, also because this is just a natural transition into the next segment. So, yeah, they won 66-14. Caleb has 18 for 24, 361. He makes a couple throws that are just make absolutely no sense. After a lot of people were like, they saw Sheduer do what Sheduer did, and everyone's like, oh, is Caleb that guy? All these quarterbacks. Penix went off this week. Everybody's going off this week. Is Caleb that guy? He is, in fact, that guy. Now, we played Nevada It's Nevada. But still, all right, Caleb Williams is still that guy. The sideline throw to Dorian Singer, who made the one-handed catch, was, again, ridiculous. And then he had that one touchdown to Brennan Rice where he stood in the pocket, then danced around, juked out a defensive end, and then on the run pulled a Derek Jeter and threw it across his body and it was just like a dot. It was beautiful, okay? It was gorgeous, okay? I cried tears of happiness. Not just because of what Caleb did, but because our defense showed up. All right, our defense showed up. I don't care if it was Nevada, okay? We needed this. We needed this. And once again, maybe gives a little bit more credence to San Jose State not being too bad. But, yeah, we needed a defensive performance like this where we got after it. Even with Tackett getting a targeting call and us being, down Mason Cobb and Eric Gentry as well, low on linebackers, we still put in a defensive performance like this. So that was very, very encouraging. But, yeah. Marshawn Lloyd as well, 135 and a touchdown. He was great all game. Taj Washington had 3 receptions, 75 yards and 2 touchdowns. Zach Branch got in the box again as well. So, yeah, happy days in SC. Happy days, happy days. I don't want to spend too much time on that because, yeah, this has been a long enough segment as is, and we still have stuff to talk about because it is week 2, and I didn't want to make these, actual games worth highlighting, but there were a lot of massacres. Okay, it's week 2. So a lot of teams are just playing whoever, they're paying teams to come get massacred, all right? It's legalized as whoopings, all right? These legalized, monetarily fund as whoopings, okay? And there were a lot of them, okay? Oklahoma, 73-0 to Arkansas State. Dylan Gabriel had 300 yards in the first half. Ole Miss beat Mercer 73-7. Jackson Dart was perfect for his first 14 throws. And of course, Oregon tried to kill their mascot by putting up 81 points against Portland State. Which now that I think about it, Portland is not a state. That should tell you the level of comp sometimes we get here in week 2. But nonetheless, they put up 81. It was 81-7. Which naturally brings me to what I had to say about conferences, and that is the Pac-12. It's so ironic, so ironic that the Pac-12, in its dying days, in its last year of life, is the best conference arguably in college football. It feels like every single team in the Pac-12 has a great quarterback. You have Caleb, you have Sheduer, you have Penix. Hell, UCLA has Dante Moore, who was a former 5-star. He could be that guy. They have DJU from Oregon State. Cam Rising. Everybody in the conference has a great quarterback. It's kind of obscene. The Pac-12 goes 13-0, the only conference to do so in week 2. Perfect. So, shout out to the Pac-12, man. Shout out to the Pac-12. They are elite quarterbacks, by the way. I've never seen so much quarterback talent, I think, in college football. Those that I mentioned, we got Drake, as I mentioned earlier, Jordan Travis, Drew Allard, J.J. McCarthy, Jalen Milroe, by the way. I slandered the SEC, but Jalen Milroe looked good this week, so I got to give a shout out to them. And Bama, I was a little worried, even though, of course, they played Middle Tennessee or whoever they played, so it wasn't really comp, but Bama looked, I'm not going to doubt Saban to get it to going. But Milroe looked good. Georgia also won by a lot, but, won the prettiest game. Looks like they might have a quarterback conundrum as well. But there's a lot of great quarterbacks in college football. If you need a quarterback in the NFL, by the way, and I've noticed this, there's a lot of really good quarterbacks coming into the league as of late. We've talked about that before on this show. And it's only going to get better. We could get to a point where, I don't know, we're going to run out of quarterbacks. Run out of teams that need quarterbacks, which sounds crazy because there's just such an elite level of quarterback and really wide receiver talent, which may be the result of 7-on-7 culture, but there's just a lot of really good quarterbacks in college football. So if you need a quarterback right now in the NFL, now is the time because, there's a lot of really good prospects coming to you. But ladies and gentlemen, college football is back. That was a very long segment. So let's get to something that is not as long, yeah? Let's keep it with footy, all right? The other football, European football, soccer. Jude Bellingham is Jude Bellingham, and he has 5 goals in 4 games. He cannot stop scoring. He is it went from, Jude is, he's the best young midfielder. He one of the best, all right? He wasn't the best, obviously. We got like Pedri, right? He was one of the best young midfielders. To now, we need to just discuss, is he the best midfielder in the world right now? It's a legitimate conversation. He has a very legitimate argument. He has looked every bit the next great midfielder, and not just the next great midfielder, the next great player in the world so far in his Real Madrid stint. As soon as I saw him with the jersey, I think I said this when we talked about his transfer, I was like, yeah, Jude is going to be that guy. He has been that guy for Real Madrid. He gets the game winner versus Getafe, who are in hot water because they just got Mason Greenwood. But yes, Jude Bellingham, in fact, that guy, Kylian Mbappe, is still arguably the best player on the face of the planet. He has 5 goals in 3 games for PSG. He is staying, as we all knew and as he said. He was bringing in all of his friends. Colomani, the other French attacker. Frankfurt, that was a little shaky of a transfer. Frankfurt not too fond of Monani right now. But anyways, PSG, by the way, a much more balanced team, which sounds crazy. Well, not that crazy after giving away Neymar and Messi. They honestly might have a better team. I'm not going to say it yet, but they might have a better team, or at least a more balanced team. They've looked good so far. They absolutely destroy Olympique Lyonnais. And Mbappe, once again, is still Mbappe. I don't know why y'all got it confused. Let's talk about the Prem, because boy, was that interesting this week. Arsenal took on Manchester United in one of the best games I've seen so far this early on in the season. Arsenal gets the win 3-1, but it was much closer than that. Rashford gets it done in the 27th, and then Odegaard with a great strike responds in the 28th. And then we come all the way down, right? Near stoppage time, I think the 87th minute, Garnacho is literally, I don't know, maybe a centimeter, a foot max. I don't even know if that. Somehow is offside on a breakaway. After he scores that, looks like he's the super sub. He kisses the badge. Everybody's like, yo, Alejandro Garnacho, he is that guy. We knew it. It gets called back for offside after VAR. And then just all hell breaks loose. And Manchester United falls apart in the 90th minute plus 5. So the 95th minute, the 5th minute of stoppage time, Declan Rice justifies, he had a really good game as well, but he completely justifies that 130 pound euro price tag with a goal. I don't know what the defense was doing, by the way, for Manchester United, because he never should have got that shot off. But anyways, Declan scores, pandemonium. And then it doesn't end there because they give up another breakaway in the 11th minute of stoppage time. Anthony Taylor was giving them all the time they needed. And Gabriel Jesus puts another pass. And yes, just Arsenal clutches it out. Arteta takes out Ten Hag. A lot of people are calling for Ten Hag's head, which I think is insane because y'all need to give him time to cook. But yeah, Arsenal. They were back last year, but I think this just kind of, reaffirms it. Great move. They made some great business, of course, over the summer. They're going to be a threat again. Yeah, so shout out to Arsenal. Sonny. We had a lot of hat-tricks on Saturday. Saturday was Man U Arsenal. The day before, we had 3 hat-tricks. First time ever in Premier League history. We had 3 hat-tricks on the same day. Heung-min Son is still one of the best attackers on the planet. He gets a hat-trick versus Burnley, who are in the ditch. Erling Haaland, of course, is the machine. Of course, Haaland gets a hat-trick. He recently signed with Prime as well, so shout out to KSI and Logan. Gets his hat-trick versus Fulham. And then Evan Ferguson, the teenager from Brighton. He goes and he gets a hat-trick versus Newcastle. So, yeah. Happy days. A lot of goal scoring this week from a lot of top-tier players. But that was soccer. We will see what happens next week. And, of course, we inch closer to the Champions League returning. Now, with that said, ladies and gentlemen, we have reached the halfway point of this show, which means entertainment is here. Winning time. Of course, this was the big episode, all right? Magic demanded a trade, as he infamously did in real life. Of course, these are all real life. I didn't really need to put that in, did I? No. Magic requests a trade, and I questioned last week if they were gonna like draw it out, but no, they did exactly how it happened. Exactly, pretty much how it happened in real life. Westhead gets fired, and literally the next day he fights for his job. It just doesn't work out, and yeah, he got too power drunk, and that was the end of it. It was really cool seeing the press conference though, where Pat didn't know if he was getting fired or kept on, if he was gonna be the head coach. And apparently that's how it actually happened. So yeah, that was kind of funny and a nice, cool thing to see. But yeah, Pat Riley is starting to become Pat Riley. Adrian Broner. Oh my goodness. Adrian Brody has been great as Pat, by the way. I mean, phenomenal being Pat. Like, I can't imagine anybody else playing Pat Riley at this point. But yeah, it was really cool to see Riley's rise, see a little bit about his backstory, and yeah, his relationship with the players and him cracking and becoming the Pat Riley we all know and love. So yeah, cool to see. Please, watch Winning Time. All right, they don't pay me to say this the same way that Rogu didn't pay me to say, hey, yo, this is a Rogu mic, or Deer Park doesn't pay me for the unofficial water sponsor, but still, go watch Winning Time. It is so good, and I need season 3 and season 4, and however seasons they want to make of it, because I love the show. So yeah, Winning Time, another good episode. Riley returns. Showtime is next week. Only one thing in music really to talk about this week. Digga D, over on the West End, over in the UK. He dropped his album, Back to Square One. We've talked about a lot of Digga's singles, by the way, which were very good. The singles and the build-up for this album, this was one of those occasions where the singles to the album actually ended up being the best songs in the album. Which is not great, but it's not like the album was bad necessarily. My favorite song that wasn't a single on the album was Drill, or I'm just going to say F Drill, because I don't want to get demonetized. Sorry, YouTube regulations. But yeah, F Drill by Digga. That was my favorite song. I think new song off the album off of First Listen. First Listen rating, I'm going to give it a 7.8, all right? Which is not, high compared to some of the other ratings, which, by the way, were just phenomenal albums. We had a really, really good stretch of albums earlier during the summer, honestly. But yeah, I'm going to give it a 7.8. I think it could go higher as I kind of, get more listens and get more comfortable, but I'm going to give it a 7.8. It didn't blow me away. It was short, which is not necessarily a bad thing, but, maybe he left some where he could have added some on some of the songs. And once again, a lot of the best stuff was stuff we had already heard, which, again, could raise the rating because it was like, all right, all these things that maybe I'm not accounting for were that good, but yeah, I'm going to give it a 7.8. It felt like, we heard all the best stuff. It wasn't too crazy, wasn't the best, grime or UK rap album I've heard this year, but still very, very solid. Still plenty of songs in the playlist. But yeah, go check it out if you want to. Digga D, Back to Square One. Still the goods, but again, not too crazy of a rating. All right, ladies and gentlemen, now that brings us to the main event, which is the MLB this week, which, shout out to the MLB. When's the last time we had an MLB main event? Anyways, for many weeks on this segment, I have been very sad. Very sad to talk about this. Very, very sad to talk about the New York Yankees. This week, I am not sad. I am not sad to talk about my favorite team this week. You know why I am not sad to talk about the New York Yankees? That is because the Martian is here. Mars has attacked, and he has attacked the space city of Houston. Yes, we took on the Astros, our second biggest rival. No disrespect to the other AL East teams besides Boston. But the Astros, let's be honest, at this point, they are our second biggest rival. We took on the Ops down south. And this week we said, you know what? We ain't got nothing to lose. The Martian has been hooping. Austin Wells, our top catching prospect, they've been hooping. So, hey, let's call them up. Let's call the kids up. We're going to do the ultra-rare Yankees thing, which we never do, and that's call the kids up and let them feast. So we let them feast. And boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, the Martian has arrived, and he arrived with the first swing of his bat. I believe the second pitch that he saw, he sent the legendary Justin Verlander gone. A home run with his first hit for the Martian. It was glorious because it didn't stop there. We're going for the sweep yesterday. Top of the eighth, I believe, top of the eighth. Tie game. Who you going to call? The Martian himself does it again. Jason Dominguez We waited years. I used to pray for times like this, and now they are here, and the Martian has arrived. It's going to be a dream watching him at Yankee Stadium with that short perch and that left-handed swing, and he's built like a running back. It's glorious, okay? It is glorious. It was the greatest weekend of all weekends this week, besides Judge being Judge sometimes. For a Yankees fan, it was just glorious, okay? The Martian is here. He did his thing. Austin Wells was also very solid, so that was very good. But we played the kids, and it worked out, okay? I've been saying this for weeks. Our problem is, I think I may have said it on the podcast before, but our problem is we were stuck in that notion of, we got the most money. We're just going to pay for these, old free agents living off their glory days, and that's not a winning formula anymore. It's not. There's youth. Youth runs the show in the MLB this year, and not just this year, but in this era. Youth runs the game. Develop your players, call them up, and they will become your stars. That's how it goes. Not that you can get an impact free agent. One of our best players is an impact free agent. But you got to develop. Go young and develop. And prosper. We hadn't done that. We've been too much being the Yankees. Finally, we do it, and it's looking like it's working out. But yeah, we sweep the Astros. The Martian is here. Life is good. Life is also good for the Atlanta Braves, as it has been all year. They took on the Dodgers, and about the two best teams in the NL, and they won 3-1. Even though the Dodgers won the game yesterday, shout out to Mookie Betts. And really, it was Betts versus Acuna. This was basically a one-on-one for MVP, and I think Acuna has the lead. Even though Betts had a better game yesterday, Acuna still probably has the lead. He had a lot of big moments this past weekend in this series against the Dodgers, including the home run that gave him 30-60. For the first time ever, nobody in the history of the MLB has ever had a 30-60 season. Now Ronald Acuna does. Of course, he's still in the race for that batting title in the NL. I think he's my MVP. Betts is probably second, but yeah, Acuna, Braves, looking like the team to beat, probably in the MLB overall, as they get it done. The Phillies as well in the NL have looked really, really good. They have been excellent. All right, they have been excellent. Bryce Harper hit his 300th home run, I think, this past week. So, yeah, they were scorching hot. Brewers were able to take 2 games off of them, but still, that makes the Phillies like 12-2. I think in their last 14 or something crazy like that. But yeah, Philly's looking really good down the stretch here. Offense is moving. Bryce Harper is Bryce Harpering. Things are looking good. And of course, the MLB is heating up as we get closer and closer to that sweet, sweet playoff time. Now, with that said, ladies and gentlemen, we have reached the Roundup. It's a big Roundup. Of course, we got all 3 motorsports this week. NASCAR, of course. Kyle Larson, Young Money himself, wins at Darlington after Denny Hamlin, by the way, loves Darlington. They don't love him, but he loves Darlington. Was the dominant car all race, but then has tire trouble. Larson is able to take advantage. He also was up there pretty much all day long, and he was able to get the win. Reddick gets second. So yeah, not a bad weekend for 2311, but a great weekend for Young Money and Larson. He's into the next round. F1. This was the big one, of course. We had Monza, the Monza Grand Prix, the Italian Grand Prix. Ferrari's home race. It started off as a great weekend. It ended as a great weekend, actually, for Ferrari. I can't even lie to you. But started off great. Sainz won the pole. Charles was third. Max got second. It was, the Tifosi were going nuts. The atmosphere was insane. But, of course, you know how this goes. Formula One is it's a racing division where 18 drivers line up and Max Verstappen wins. And he has won for not the 1, not the 2nd, not the 3rd, not the 4th, not the 5th, not the 6th, not the 7th, not the 8th, not the 9th, but the 10th time in a row. F1 history. No man has ever won 10 races in a row except for now Max Verstappen. Max is going to win the championship, as we've known, for a very, very long time. And he is probably going to obliterate the wins record because I don't know who's going to beat him. I don't even know if Checo can beat him. If Checo takes the pole somewhere, I don't know if anybody can beat Max right now except for Max. Like if Max crashed or Red Bull had like a technical failure. That's the only way I see Max losing at this point. It's ridiculous. It's honestly ridiculous. He is just, it's the best car, not even really close, in the best team, and that combination is just, it's wiping the floor with everybody else. Checo gets second here at Monza. Carlos gets third after a very hard fault. I mean, he did a great job for those 15 laps defending against Max and really all day long, but it didn't work out. Charles gets fourth. Gave the Tifosi a heart attack because the way he was racing Carlos at the end, but it was all good fun. Albon did a great job as well. Once again, another week where I'm saying Alex Albon had a great drive, held off both of the McLarens, which of course since those changes have been deadly. So yeah, shout out to Albon, but yeah, Max, 10th in a row. He's the best driver in the world probably. It's just he can't be stopped. Alex Palou smoked IndyCar this year. We didn't really talk about that too much besides probably Indy. But gotta give a shout out to Palou. He wins it with a race to go, which rarely happens in IndyCar, by the way. Might see it happen. You can't see it didn't happen in NASCAR anymore because of the playoff system. And you see it happen in Formula 1, but you rarely see it in Indy. Rarely. I think the last time it happened, it was Dan Weldon in 2005. So yeah, Palou wins with the race to go. He clinches the IndyCar championship. He has been dominant. It's funny to think that he was almost in Piastri's place with McLaren. And I think a lot of people, after the season he's had, are going to be trying to get him a ride. So we'll see what happens. But yeah, Palou wins IndyCar. UFC had an event this week in France. Cyril Gane KO Spivak. Of course, he got the headline. No surprise there. Just, hit him with, from every single angle possible. Hit Spivak. He gets the round 2 strikes, KO. Ref stop, whatever you want to call it. All right, he just beat the brakes off that boy. Gane is still one of the best heavyweights in the world, even though John Jones dismantled him. Don't get it confused. Unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, Farhat, UD's Rose, and Rose is done. All right, Doug Rose, it's over. The dream is over. She will be a Hall of Famer because she was a champion, and she's been Doug Rose, quote unquote. But yeah, that's done. She's done and dusted. All right, I just hope she doesn't go out sad in a BJ Penn, Tony Ferguson type way. And she goes out with her dignity, maybe even after this, right? So yeah, but Rose she's done, okay? The dream is over. It's over. We got UFC 293 though this week. UFC Australia. It is not a good card. I'm not going to sit here and lie to you and be like, yo, this is card of the year. No, this is not a really good card. Of course, that means it's going to be an absolute banger. But we do have Israel Adesanya fighting this week, all right? Izzy, the style bender, he's taking on Sean Strickland. Of course, I got Izzy in this fight. I think mostly everybody will. But, of course, it's the fight game. Anything can happen. So, Strickland has a puncher's chance. He has his puncher's chance. But I really struggle to see anything that he does better than Izzy. So, if Izzy comes game, then he should make pretty quick work of Strickland. But we will see what happens. Anything can happen, as you know, in the fight game. And to end off here, we're going to talk a little U.S. Open. Of course, it's not over. We'll talk about the ending of the championship next week. But we do have some interesting things that have happened. Ben Shelton, former NCAA champion this past year, has stepped up on the hardcourt majors. He has been phenomenal. And once again, he disappeared a little bit during the season, wasn't too great, adjusting to that first year as a pro. But boy, oh boy, U.S. Open has come around, and I don't know if it's the U.S. boost or it's the hardcore boost, but Ben Shelton has been that guy. 149 he hit on the clock, which is the fastest serve on the tour so far, I think this year, I think is what they said. Certainly at the U.S. Open. But yeah, 149. He hit it back-to-back versus Tommy yesterday, so yeah. Shelton looking good. Of course, he's got Big Foe next round in the QFs. So we will see what happens. Coco Gauff has looked great. Of course, she's got Iga next in a rematch after Coco a couple weeks ago beat Iga. Not many people have beaten Iga this year. So we will see. Coco's playing the tennis of her life right now so far of her young career. And, of course, Iga has been the dominant women's player on the tour. So we will see. It's going to be very interesting. But, yeah, a lot of really good tennis. I've been watching a lot of tennis lately. But, yeah, U.S. Open, cooking. We'll talk more about it next week. And, of course, I have to end off with bragging for Noah Lyles after I cooked him last week. He would probably be delighted to be informed that the U.S. men's national team in the FIBA World Cup, which technically should be for a world championship, lost to Lithuania. So I know he was absolutely ecstatic about that one. But yeah, we lost to Lithuania, got cooked. Anthony Edwards was the only person that showed up. However, it was group play. We still made the Olympics, and we still can win the tournament. But, yeah, not great. But maybe a humbling experience is what we needed. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, that is it for episode 161. I hope you enjoyed. I certainly did. Football is back. NFL will be back next week, so look forward to that. That will be the main event, as it always is. But yeah, for now, CFB is back. Y'all can let me know how the audio was. Hopefully it wasn't too cooked, and you could at least hear some of this, and I don't have to do some like surgery or at least even re-record the episode in post. So yeah, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, hope you guys enjoyed. Ocho signing off.